the trails through the site, which were caused by the ATVs, we said, well, heck, they're already compressed in the soil. They've already created a lot of disturbance. They want to see the same things we want to see. They want to get out here to what's, is the main marsh. They want to get to the river. Why not use those same trails for our own trails with slight modifications? So that was one of the first things we did was take down a lot of cottonwood trees. If you look around, usually like 98% of the site of the older trees are cottonwoods, and while they're technically native, they're quite aggressive, and we really were hoping to get a more diverse species matrix in terms of trees. So we cut down some trees, chipped them, and that's what we're walking on is the chipped buckthorn and chipped trees from the site. Just a nice, easy reuse to benefit the path system. We also pulled out about 100 and some piles of debris, including about 8 burned-out cars, 3 semi-truckloads of tires alone. The snakes were a little sad when we got rid of those tires, but some of the debris, refrigerators, mattresses, sofas, you name it, it was out here. And so I think that was one of the really fantastic first steps, to change the feeling of the place. Next, we removed a lot of the buckthorn, started our invasive species control last summer. If you come out here, this is an entire stand of Phragmites too tall to see into. This is really our ecological treasure of the marsh. That's why we're stocked here. It's about 30 acres. The entire site's 130 acres. And this is where most of the 26 state endangered and state threatened birds tend to nest, forage, slope, hang out. And the most important one really is the yellow-headed blackbird, which is almost on its last legs here. The last 2 years it hasn't shown up. We're working with Illinois Natural History Survey to put out some decoys and try to reattract them to the area. Eggers Woods, which you'll see today, is one of the only other places they're nesting in Illinois anymore. Common moorhen, king rail, all kinds of other critters are out here in the summer. We've got coyote on the side. We have our red fox. We saw a mink here the other day, and just amazing some deer. That's obviously not that big of a deal, but for students and such that are in urban areas and haven't seen such a thing, it's really exciting. So hopefully we come back in the summer and see some of those rare species. Some of the other stuff we've done is conducted our first prescribed burn, which was a heck of a lot of fun. Fire. And it was really nice. We didn't burn as well as we'd hoped to, and we're going to do it again next spring. But those are some of the big changes that we made on the site. In addition to, as we walk through, you'll notice there's a lot of color at eye level where we planted about a total of 375 trees and shrubs. Yeah. Okay, so putting in a native species matrix, we have a few different types or 4 different types of oaks and a sycamore, and we've got some viburnum that we've put in. So those are our major changes. We're going to hike to the site, and I think Mark is going to give us some geography lessons, maybe on a stop, giving us some context of where we are.
So we had to work today.
I think that we've done 4 today, yeah. And it's probably going to have to be done in perpetuity. It's just an ongoing battle over here. So, I'm sorry, the city of Chicago. This site was owned by Waste Management. When we hike out to the river, you'll see the landfill across the way. There's actually 5 landfills over there. CID, Waste Management. Oh yeah, we'll see it today. And one of the things was they owned this property with the hopes of building another landfill for many years, and we have a moratorium in the city that we just renewed, so it's not possible. So they finally sold us land for I think $4 or $5 million a few years ago. The land where we're building the environmental center had to be bought from Norfolk Southern Railroad, which if anybody's dealt with the railroad, they know how. I'm sorry, nobody here. It was pretty bad, and so that took us many years, and that's why our Fort Calumet Environmental Center primarily has been delayed, just getting land where we can build, because all of this land that we bought was purchased using Fish and Wildlife and DNR and NOAA money, so it precluded us from building a building. So we needed land that had those traits. So yeah. Muskrat. You'll see today too, we put in a solar-powered water control structure adjacent to the river last year. We had no muskrats in here at all, and it was all Phragmites. What we want to do is really create that hemi-marsh condition with a little bit of emergent vegetation with a little bit of water. And so this is how we see in our told us where to set the structure at. And all of a sudden, all the muskrats came in. We pretty much have done away with all the cattails. So we're going to be managing the water levels again next year. Get more of the we have a lot of beavers.
had a land use plan for the region that has identified sites like this, and this is a part of the open space reserve that the city and state are 4,000 acres.
You want to pull out the map and show?
We'll do that later on, but this is one of the key sites in a project that's gone forward for at least 10 years formally, and another at least 5 or 10 before that. Yeah.
The city's got this plan, and we have it in the bunch if you want to look at it, the plan. But the land use plan, which is identifying about 3,900 acres of open space that either exist, like Bouman Woods, which you'll see today, or Eggers, and then new spaces like the one we're at today, and like Big Marsh and Hegewisch Marsh, which you'll see later. And then kind of creative reuse spaces like perhaps CID landfill or the cluster site where we can maybe cover a landfill and create some through the trees and the logging dam. But it's less compromised than some of our other sites. I think there's 20 billion cubic feet of fill throughout the Indiana and Illinois side of the region. Slag. Slag is one of those things that is primarily in the ground. And it's a byproduct of the steel industry, as we probably all know. And this alone accounts for half of that, 10 billion cubic feet of fill, slag. One of the sites we'll drive by later, Van Vlissingen, has about, I think, 50 acres, 7 feet deep. Big Marsh, which we'll see later, is covered 70 acres, 10 feet deep. So it provides some pretty serious ecological challenges, I think, on both sides of the border. I think a lot of the sites by the steel mills likely have a lot of that since they were made from slag and other fill, but so it's really kind of, this site's kind of a little bit more pristine than some of the other ones that we have in the city, at least, except Bouman and Eggers. So
how much of this is covered in slag?
This one almost has none. This trail that back here has a little bit along the side of it, and we find it intermittently, but generally there's not a lot of slag here. It's mostly red spoil.
Hit it with a shovel.
Well, I know it's hard and stuff, but still, I would think that things would grow on it.
Over time, the little hollows get filled in with earth, dirt, and that takes a while.
The planting is just helping, and we really wanted to get the canopy cover to be more like, in certain parts we kind of call it a wet savanna, for lack of a better term, or a forested wetland, and that's just allowing the species to come right back up, and the birds, well, we're thrilled. And then, Mark, I was going to see if you wanted to pull out the map and just orient everybody to where we are.
134th Street, and then another cell of the landfill to the south of 134th, which is tremendously controversial locally. And I think we can take a better look at it, we can talk about that. So and then Wolf Lake, pretty easy to see here. This is the community of Hegewisch. And community of Alto Gardens over here. They talk about living within a toxic donut. Landfill, steel mill, and sewage treatment plant around them. More of a toxic flint, though, or Danish. the lead in the soil, and actually Pullman, which is over here, the historic Pullman community.
Pierogi here.
Portions of the Pullman plant, the sewage was dumped in a marsh.
Well, actually, Alto Gardens was built on top of waste from
Pullman, right? And then they had a farm, and then sold the produce back up.
Right.
And then the beautiful shape of Lake Calumet, which looks kind of like a dead trout.
Which we're going to see today. It's very rare. It's a Homeland Security site, technically, because of the port district. There's a little bit of dodginess. So one of the things, hear me now, no pictures when we get out to the balcony at Harborside. They freak out about it. And it's very rare they give us permission to even go out on the public balcony, but they did today. That'll give you a view of the conservation area. Looks out over that, and you'll be able to kind of see over a berm the rest of Lake Calumet, but there's really no public access. The only way we get in is by canoeing in, primarily. So that's later today.
Right, and this, of course, the Illinois International Port, the whole district here, that's the completion of the